Let's see. All right. Live there. Now we just need to kick off on Instagram. Folks, bear with us just 1 second. Special shout out to all the listeners today. We love you. Thank you so much. I have a feeling we're going to be building more momentum on this very platform, magnifying some true patriots' voices, giving real solutions to us all, a clear pathway to a better, brighter future. And not just that, I mean, let's up our health, let's up our resilience. It's about time we start seeing the best version of you in this existence. And the only way we're going to achieve that is by pushing back on some of the warfare regarding our health, upping our health, connecting to the bigger picture of this existence, which is coming to terms that we're all visiting here and connecting with the bigger picture, our loving creator God. It's so clear there are two gods we are dealing with. And I get at times the one of this world more so seems like the one we're dealing with like is more real because we're in this mortal state. But he is the lesser God, and he's here to destroy and deceive. So, my gosh, when we tap into our loving creator, which is the more superior being because he won the war in heaven and his son came and gave us the evidence as to conquering death, what more do we need? Well, that's a path for you to walk and gain that faith yourself, and I so hope you do that. Now that was kind of a side rail. I'm super psyched to have yet again Eric on a muzzled chat. Welcome, Eric. How you doing today, bro?
Good. Thank you for having me, sir.
It is my pleasure. So word is you've continued because, my gosh, you're a Marine veteran. You ended up tapping into this AstraZeneca study, and you ended up vaccine injured. Vaccine. Quotations.
That's correct, sir.
So are you doing all right with that? I mean, you got clotting going on mainly in your leg. Has it gotten pretty life-threatening at times, or how you doing?
Well, I mean, I've developed a couple of symptoms. I would say that they're lifelong injuries now due to my COVID-19 mishap with AstraZeneca and my participation in the study that was run by the Veterans Affairs Administration and AstraZeneca. So I have the blood clot, of course, called a thrombosis. That's the blood clot stuck in my right calf. More specific, my perennial vein. I've developed liver disease. My liver has swollen 6 inches. Has enlarged by 6 inches, and I have migraine headaches, mostly on a daily occasion.
No, Eric, we got to find a path to help eradicate those poisons from your body to get health. We need you. You're a warrior. You're on the front lines, and you are leading by example. So I really hope the listeners tune into what you put together and the message you have for us here today. It was alarming, and just the snippet you gave me yesterday. So there are doctors. I know Dr. McCullough is coming out with things that help eradicating the spike protein. You might even want to check out the Masterpiece tincture we're engaged with. It helps eradicate forever chemicals and metals, things of that nature. But golly, I know there's like a lot of natural remedies coming out where people are bathing in certain, not even just salts. I mean, I think they're even bathing in like detergents, and it's pulling out a lot of this stuff. So just know there's great things around the corner. But we gotta, man, I just want to see you fully well. Obviously, it's going to take some time to build out the clearest path. You know, I didn't even do an official kickoff. Here we go. Welcome to a Muzzle Chat, folks. So as you can see, we got Eric. here, and he's done a lot of research. Let's go ahead and pull up this screen share. Prior to going into this, do you want to divulge a little as to the experience you had regarding what would you call this? The at minimum experimenting on our veterans, because you saw firsthand as to how they were kind of preying on the veteran community, which in my eyes is criminal. Like, it's unbelievable. Why have veterans been targeted so in this country? Not just through studies like this, but like, we care more about illegals. We care more about other countries' borders than our veterans. There's so many things we could connect here. It's clear that they have targeted veterans, just making this life as miserable as they can for those that were trained. Maybe it's just due to the threats you guys present to a tyrannical, infiltrated government. That is the only thing that makes sense to me. But it is atrocious, and it fires me up, and I hope it fires up the listeners. So share whatever you feel like with your story, and then let's dive into what you found here.
I mean, so last time we connected, I had basically just touched base about the AstraZeneca study. So this has been a situation that has been ongoing since 2021. It's not anything new that the government hasn't known about. It's not anything that they haven't been notified of or that they didn't facilitate itself.
Right.
I've been in this battle, and I'm talking about a battle between good and evil, like you said.
Yes.
And it's really, I've really been able to delve into this, fighting these people, and I'm fighting the government itself. I'm fighting the government officers, Southern District of New York, the Department of Justice, the Veterans Affairs Administration. And I believe that I've shed a lot of light on exactly what it is that's going on. So this program, the AstraZeneca program, was part of Operation Warp Speed, which was to bring a speedy COVID-19 pandemic vaccine to inoculate the population of the whole world. And in order to do so and facilitate this, they had to actually get IND approval for initial drug studies. And AstraZeneca became part of what's known as the Department of Defense apparatus. So there was a total of 32,451 participants in a randomized double-blind placebo study.
This is all early pandemic?
Correct.
Wow. When you went in, what kind of consent was there with this study? I'm curious. Nothing?
So basically, before anything, they have you sign this non-disclosure agreement. It doesn't preclude you from basically receiving for suing for injuries or anything like that. But it's supposed to give you a basic idea of how the study is being rolled out, any type of injuries that you may occur from the study. And within that study agreement, which is about 80 pages long, that they go over with you within like the 15-minute window, the initial meeting period, you basically sign a bunch of X's, your initials and things like that. And the actual study agreement, which is which is in black and white that you receive, and it's actually uploaded to the Federal Drug Administration and the VA itself. They had no mention of blood clotting, thromboses, or anything like that. And I have it on my iCloud. I can actually forward that to you as well.
You know what's interesting? I recently had a guest talking about every time they're doing signatures on things now, they're adding an addition below their name, because there's all this fine print, even with your basic family physician, that they're writing all rights reserved under their name. And if they're under duress, like maybe in a hospital setting or something like that, they'll even add all rights reserved under duress. Like, brilliant in my eyes. Why wouldn't we? And at the point we added that below our name, what are they're not gonna move forward with what we're doing. So anyway, I just found that interesting. But yeah, go ahead and continue. Yeah, it's you know what? Watch this. We'll pull this up. Like, what you just spoke on right there is clear as day on the infringements right in here. You know? Okay, so in here, this was regarding a study, but in the Nuremberg Code, it does state, let's see. I mean, how many of these does it infringe upon? Conducted high degree. Okay, so I know it talks about even consent in here, right? And then it even talks about the preparedness to terminate these experiments at any stage if there are any problems at all to result of injury, disability, death. It's unbelievable what they've got away with on infringing with the Nuremberg Code. But anyway, I digress. To dive more into specifically the AstraZeneca, man, I struggle to say AstraZeneca study. That's what we're here to do. So I'll keep you back or get you back on track. I apologize. Because clearly it seems like through this study, they were more so targeting veterans and taking advantage of veterans.
That is correct, and that's what I've delved into.
Okay.
So you have to remember, veterans are a protected class of citizen, whether you're active duty, non-active duty, National Guard, Air National Guard, or anything like that. You have to remember that you're highly documented. So everything you do is in some sort of classified computer system. Your health records, if you're receiving health care at the Veterans Affairs Administration or the Department of Defense or any type of military facility, everything that you experience is documented and uploaded to electronic devices that they can easily say, hey, on this date, this Marine came in and this is what we performed on him. This is his blood pressure. This is his temperature. This is his mood. These are what we've documented upon this person. Now, what happens is, and this is all public information now, that this study known as AstraZeneca, which actually commenced in 2020, had a total of 32,451 participants. Of those participants, they state on the NIH website that 21,635 participants received what's known as AZD1222 COVID-19 vaccine, and 10,816 of those participants received a placebo. So once I delve into the study details listed on the NIH site, they have listed 84 locations where they actually facilitated this study from. Now, out of those 78 domestic facilities that they've actually pretended were, in my opinion, civilian facilities, right? Civilian research centers and things of that nature. 78 of them, I believe, out of the 78 that are domestic within the United States itself, are all affiliated with the military, Veterans Affairs Administration facilities, National Guard, etc. So out of all those facilities, they basically used veterans, affiliates of veterans, veteran families, active duty, non-active duty personnel in this study because we make the perfect guinea pigs.
Unbelievable. 78. This is a lot larger of a study than I even knew. All those. So what information have you come across that ties the veterans into this particular study?
So basically, for the last, I would say, 6 months, I've been trying to discover through what's known as the FOIA process, which is the Freedom of Information Act. So I've been submitting a bunch of FOIAs that state I would like to know how many veterans participated in this study as a whole, how many veterans were injured, and I have basically about 21 different buckets of information that I've requested that I've been denied by the Federal Drug Administration, by the NIH, all the agencies that have partnered with these biopharmaceutical companies that state that basically we don't want you to find out this information because it's going to result in a class action lawsuit. And at present, AstraZeneca is actually litigating two well-known class action lawsuits. One in the United Kingdom, where their product, they inoculated over 7 million people in the United Kingdom with AstraZeneca, and then you have another class action lawsuit in Australia that has about 550 members that say that AstraZeneca killed about 17 of those members.
Wow.
And they're litigating that. So basically what the government is doing, the United States government is insulating this private biopharmaceutical company so that they don't have to pay us out any money for the injuries that we've incurred. Not only the injuries, the physical and the mental injuries, but the information that they've used against us. So, as I had described in 2021, I brought this lawsuit that was dismissed, stating that the Southern District of New York didn't have jurisdiction. But through actual research and me stumbling upon, the alteration of my medical records, the deletion of my test results, I had sonograms deleted, I had MRI results deleted, I had CAT scan results deleted, all from my electronic health record, in order to support what the biopharmaceutical needs, which is nothing ever happened to me, right? I'm not suffering from any type of injury. This is all concocted and made up. And it's a disgrace, because if they can do this to me, that means that out of the 32,000 participants who they illegally gained access to our health records, they illegally gained access to Veterans Affairs Administration. It's all illegal what they've actually perpetrated against us, meaning that they can just go in, click a button, or have some sort of program that says, hey, listen, erase this, and this, and I don't want to hear any more from this person. And that's basically what's happening in mass. Wow.
Well, I do want to apologize up front, because I don't know what happened with the StreamYard, but I didn't verify out the gate that we were streaming to Rumble. I got it fixed as we were talking, but the beginning probably didn't make it to the stream for whatever reason. So I'll upload a full episode with the beginning and everything included after this. I just want to apologize to listeners. I want to apologize to you on that, Eric. I don't know. I guess I just got to do better at verifying some things. But that being said, as I go over and looking at the title, this is unbelievable information, and it's important. It would be delusional to not connect the dots. We've been so manipulated, and that's why I actually chose the image of a soldier getting the shot and delusionally holding a sign for you. He's getting a shot for you. That's how deceived, that is how manipulated, that's how effective these corporations, these trillionaires, these individuals that stood up this pandemic, in fact, they were so effective. There are multiple layers of manipulation to get a man to a point he is receiving under the guise of a vaccine that's supposed to, as we understand it, traditionally create some type of immunity to some type of threat. I say some type of threat because even to this day, define the COVID threat when we have defective testing. So this COVID shot, in my eyes, it was going to have nothing to do and have no immune response with the actual thing that was sickening the people just based on the PCR testing. But anyway, I digress. To get to the point of like the actual definition of a vaccine, as far as we understood it, how delusional, how manipulated do you have to be as a man to sit there with a diaper on your face and hold? I'm sorry, it could be very insulting. Yes, there were a lot of war tactics. At the end of the day, I'd love to hug the man, and at the end of the day, he was a victim of so much warfare, right? But we must acknowledge that all those strategies to effectively combat, because we can't go back to a life of normacy with this level of warfare at play without addressing this corruption, this level of tyranny, and all their immunity. Are you freaking kidding me? With all the infringement on the Nuremberg Code, there is no immunity for crimes against humanity. I don't care what our government has to say about that. If we, the people, effectively united against these atrocities, we would gain traction. There would be no immunity. And dare I say, with the class action lawsuits that are being filed all over the world, not just in this country, but all over the world, from individuals like you, bigger organized groups, dare I say, like, this was the largest distribution of wealth throughout human history. And if this doesn't tickle your fancy, I don't know what will. We've become very selfish and self-serving creatures. Well, this very well could be the quickest, most direct path to wealth in this existence, and millions of dollars to the atrocities committed by these corporations, by these companies, by these governments even. It's all infringing. So to get on board, we could redistribute this wealth. At the end of the day, even that outcome is minimal, because for those like Eric and those that are suffering, there's different levels of suffering, but I'd venture to say the majority of them, even with $1 million settlement check or their health as a choice, the majority of folks would choose their health. So it goes beyond even that. But the sheer idiocracy to be getting a shot in your arm, holding a sign for you, when in fact the definition, it's just, think about all the layers of manipulation, because it's supposed to protect him. And that megahorn with Fauci, with the rotting bag of oatmeal Biden, speaking out as though this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated, never made a lick of sense. That in and of itself was a manipulative propaganda, misinformation tactic in and of itself. And they want to engage in warfare and stop the misinformationists. No, they're stopping truth from coming out. They're doing everything they can. So it kind of boils back to the importance simultaneously that we fight like heck over my dead body for our freedom of speech and also our health. And you can now see that these type of warfare tactics, from vaccinations, from so many other angles of attack hitting our health that we've covered on this platform, it has been diminishing our light, and it has been dumbing us down. Like, no one wants to admit that, but the simple fact of fluoride being put in the water, it has been for generations now lowering IQs. And they're intentionally squeezing us all in such a way that we're not willing to see outside of our personal bubble in our lives, our jobs, our family, our children, when they're, like, that's a dumbing down. Because who in their right mind wouldn't more than fulfill I mean, it'd be one thing if we weren't a conquered country to only show up every 4 years, like that's all you needed to do as a citizen to maintain freedom. We're far past that. So that's why I do state it's illusional for people to stay in their bubble and not show up, because we all have a role. We all have a responsibility, not just to this country, but our God and our brothers and sisters all around us. So my goodness, with sorry, that was kind of a word salad there, but I'm just fired up, Eric, to be honest. And frankly, it just would be nice to see more people get engaged. I mean, everyone's got the choice. That's what it boils down to. I'm not here to twist anyone's arm, but the information's out, and what you're now bringing to the table, it just fires me up that much more to hear about, like, they withheld information, they preyed on veterans. It was far greater number than I was anticipating. And what it basically speaks to me is that they even gathered the information, AstraZeneca, as to how damning these were in fact going to become on the mass rollout to the public and to the military as well. And it became the gold standard when we know, when it's proven now, proven time and time again, that the best immunity was natural immunity to whatever COVID was. Unbelievable. And they think they have immunity? They are mistaken, my friend. If there's proper unification and organization on our end, that's all it's going to take. And that's where I feel we could start following suit like you with these FOIA requests or even demands on local levels. Just, man, I can't wait. To the listeners, find investors. Let's invest in the Muzzle Chat. I swear we could put this towards a web page that we build out on state levels, where we literally, through even legal means, built out demand letters that these shots, like, it's mind blown. They're still on the shelves. They're still being administered under emergency use, no FDA approval. And they're showing them safe and effective, and they're still dumping tons of money into the manipulation through beautiful CVS commercials with families going in and, psychological warfare is like with the children getting treats like it's the right thing to do. They're trying to ingrain us back into this blind sense of trust, which is no good. So with funding, we could create more solutions. We could help build web pages where you just go in, you take the typed out reports, submit them to all the elected officials, demanding, serving them the Nuremberg paperwork and stating these are war crimes. We demand you get rid of this shot immediately. And it's kind of a step process. And once we have that eliminated, then obviously now we could get these individuals to hear us. See, this is the problem. And I know I'm kind of jumping around a bit, but kind of like we had a chat, Eric, pre-show, it hit me when, in fact, I was talking with my father. I took the day off yesterday and it was much needed. And it was nice to have some family time. And I was talking about all these like solutions. I want to see results. And some of this has already been built out, and it just hit me because I was like, well, we can get organized with Bud Light and their wokeness. We could get organized with Tractor Supply, John Deere, and Harley Davidson. Like, why are we not getting organized on this? And then it hit me. I'm like, I'm a fool. I'm foolish. We have been organized. We have been reaching out. You have been submitting the FOIA requests. You have been doing exactly what it is we need to do. I see Billy doing it, John DeLarme and Scott and Mark Bashaw, all these very powerful individuals, and Brad Miller, so many others. So it has been being done, but why has there been no response? Think about it. Bud Light had to respond because at the end of the day, it was their bottom dollar, right? That they would have tanked as a company had they not responded to we the people. but our own elected officials, it just goes to show how corrupt everything has become, where there's no accountability. It doesn't matter. They take their money, they take our money from us regardless. So they're more without organization of the people, without the pressure coming more so from our side, they're going to continue to cave to the synagogue of Satan and the infrastructure that is more so corrupted them in their place. And it's clear that there's multiple tactics they've used. It's been through money, it's been through bribes, and it's been through threats, even Epstein-style threats. And then think about now today with technology and no privacy, they could use footage even if you were faithful in a marriage. They could use imagery of your loved ones against you. There's no lengths evil will not go to have their way. Like, full stop. So we just got to show up in a more massive way. And ultimately, everything from our loving creator's free agency, everything's choice, and everyone clearly has a choice as to what they do if they want to stay in their bubble. But the reality of that choice means we're going to end up somewhere worse than if people start actually acknowledging and accepting life on life's terms in this age that we're dealing with and the threats we're dealing with. Then we could definitely shift this tide. So, man, let's see the manipulation. It kind of begins with getting on free speech platforms, doing research like you're doing. So continue to connect whatever dots you can on this, Eric, because this is huge. Like, this is appalling. Like, why? Like, have you been in contact with a lot of these veterans, or you're seeing the outcome of this actual experimental study? I mean, you're dealing with it yourself.
Well, I mean, it's very difficult to actually obtain any type of private information when it comes to things like this, because they're not supposed to know who you are. You're supposed to be assigned a number, and your information is hidden. So it's very hard to get in contact with them. Not only that, but when you actually submit a FOIA, which is called a FOIA request, you're not allowed to obtain any type of personal information. So first, last names, date of births, addresses, cell phone numbers, things of that nature are very hard to come by. So what we have to do as a people, we have to obtain a very professional class action lawyer in order to discover all that, because it's a very timely and costly process. Now, you've touched on the corruption. Now, the corruption is so bad, and I'm going to tell you how bad it is. I've been battling these people since 2021 in the Southern District of New York. Now, every single asset that they've had, from cyber to physical assets to anything, has been deployed in order to align themselves with these biopharmaceutical companies so that they can cover themselves. So that means from the study administrators at the Veterans Affairs Administration, Harbor Healthcare on East 23rd Street, where thousands of veterans actually receive their healthcare, to any single Veterans Affairs Administration medical facility that I may visit. Now, they've labeled me a troublemaker, or somebody that's, a rabble rouser, or somebody that says, hey, I'm just causing problems. But I can tell you, I've emailed over 30 congressional members on both sides of the aisle. Most recently, the COVID-19 subcommittee on investigating the COVID-19 pandemic, as you say. Now, I've emailed them, which creates a chain. I've emailed them my amended complaint. I've emailed them other legal work product that I've sent into the Southern District to actually prove my case about the wrongs that I've faced, and I've received no type of response. Now, let me show you exactly. I'm going to read this from my response right now, because I'm preparing another response to send back to these guys. Now, this is something that I've done on my own, out of my own pocket, out of my own patriotic duty as a former Marine, as somebody that doesn't want to take any crap from anybody, man. Like, listen, we all have to stand up in this case, and that's just my opinion. So, point 14. This is of my response to AstraZeneca.
You know what? Let's, just before we get into that, I want to touch on something. Like, that's powerful that you'd be willing at your own cost, at your own time, and I want to like hone in on that. Like, what do you suppose it is that triggers an individual to care to that level? Is it more so aligned with the actual injuries you've received from it? Like, try to think on a psychological level. Let's say you didn't end up getting this. You probably wouldn't have been on this path to getting the education, to being where you're at. So if you didn't do the study at all, right, would we be here? I mean, these are healthy thoughts, because now it more so probably puts us in the position of other individuals that just aren't, that are more so turning a blind eye, you know. Or if in fact you got it, and let's say it was that saline solution and you're not dealing with the clotting, because we have something in common to a degree. It's totally different, but it's common to a degree that I even question. And that's where there's great blessing, when we accept and it's only through God, really, because otherwise I'd be out there an angry curmudgeon, like cursing the world for my path. And, oh my gosh, if I didn't have bad luck, I'd have no luck at all, type of just toxic mentality, right? But it's the bioweapon Lyme disease dating back to the Cold War that put me on death's door, that put me humbly before God to understand kind of a bigger picture. But the more I connected the dots to this being created and how it's been swept under the rug, how it's been generating trillions of dollars each year, just getting misdiagnosed and not properly identified, like it's the perfect weapon, like bio warfare, shots, things like this. It's perfect weaponry. They're being enriched. It's having a negative effect on our abilities to function and live. And now we're more so like fighting, and now so we're more compliant and less of a threat, because we're more about surviving, right? And we're just encompassed in our health. They want us also encompassed in our health, and you could just see that getting ramped up. So, I mean, it almost doesn't need a response, right, from you, whether or not, but there's something powerful to grasp here, that the healthy need to understand the gravity of the situation without having to go through the suck like you and I, right? Because on the course we're on, it will become inevitable, and they will end up. And at that point, it's just that much harder. And will it maybe be too late for one of your loved ones or one of your children, right? Because that is the seriousness of this threat. We see young ones dealing with these clots themselves, like 8-year-olds, unbelievable, myocarditis, heart attacks, turbo cancers. So there's something really powerful for us to just sit on there and try to grasp. And why is it that we're so self-absorbed? Like we don't care till like our world's shaken, right? Anyway, I apologize. So continue with the document, unless you wanted to, touch on anything in addition there.
Well, I also wanted to say that AstraZeneca had actually, within its advertisement, stated that it had about 20 years of preparation
Right.
for developing this COVID-19 alleged vaccination. Now, me as a citizen, and just, I love to exercise my rights. I love having rights. I love having my freedoms. Constitutional rights are very important to any type of citizen. And I believe everybody should exercise their right to be politically active, to get out there and get their point across, support whoever they want to support to win or whatever it is. But I tell you, it's just my duty as a veteran. Itself. I mean, there's something just different to me as a Marine. And we always joke with the Army guys that the Army stands for ain't ready to be a Marine yet, and we always take the lead, and you guys always falling down, and we're always picking up the pieces. But it's all in good fun. But it really just motivated me, seeing the type of corruption that I had been seeing for the past 3 years, of being treated like
Right.
I'm the criminal. I'm the one that did this to myself. I don't know anything about system administration. I don't know anything about cybersecurity. I don't know anything about health and wellness or anything like that. But
you don't know about your own body and how you were fine and how you're now not. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And so basically, I mean, this is just about me my attempt to bring to the attention of the oversight committee, in a meeting that was actually titled, "Where do we go from here? Examining a path forward to assess agencies' efforts to prevent improper payment and fraud."
Do you want me to pull up your screen, or you're just reading?
Yeah, I'm just reading it. So,
okay.
So basically, September 10th, 2024, at 10 a.m. at 2154 Rayburn House Building, they had the Department of Justice's DOI Inspector General Honorable Michael E. Horowitz and other individuals testifying in front of the Oversight Committee mostly about COVID-19 fraud and the amount of COVID-19 fraud that's actually been perpetrated against the United States government, right? So on that morning of September 10th, so this is what I did. Morning of September 10th, 2024, plaintiff, which is myself, set off to the free breakfast in his best tailor-made suit. This is in Washington, D.C. After breakfast, plaintiff walked over to 2154 Rayburn Capitol Building and was directed where to find the Oversight Subcommittee room. Plaintiff located the room and spotted a picture of the 13 victims of the Abbey Gate bombing and immediately felt a shiver traveling up his spine and a taste of hypocrisy in his mouth. Out of respect, honor, and reverence for those sacrificed at Abbey Gate. And that was the incident of, people don't know, the 13 Marines service members that were blown to hell upon the exit of U.S. forces of Afghanistan at the Abbey Gate. The plaintiff I stood at parade rest guarding the Oversight Committee door, staring at those brave women and men of honor who made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms, while those at the top of the food chain played politics and never have to pay for their billion-dollar schemes. Plaintiff reflected upon his experiences in the Marines and observed the passerby until OIG Horowitz passed him in the hallway with his entourage. So I basically attended that meeting and without any type of incident. And the whole testimony, the whole time, all these congressional members are sitting there asking Horowitz question after question about COVID-19 fraud. Now, the number that they came up with as far as COVID-19 fraud was somewhere in the $350 billion range of fraud. They said the majority of the fraud was being manipulated and perpetrated by millionaires who were actually buying and purchasing luxury cars, mansions, boats, houses, buildings, etc., you name it. And they were actually, you can actually watch this You can actually watch the replay of this on the Oversight Committee website.
Mm.
And that's how bad it is. And me, after watching all that and paying attention to what these guys were saying, was astounding to me that they would actually wait to have some sort of meeting about $350 billion in fraud. And they all stated under oath and testimony that it was only going to get worse if we didn't do something about it. Now, why would you wait for the B number to come up? Billion. Can you count to billion? I can't. I can't even fathom what $1 billion looks like. What does it even look like?
Yeah.
And to me, it motivated me to kind of become even more active.
Yeah.
And I basically I walked around the Rayburn the building, which is humongous, and where all the congressional members have offices. I mean, there's a couple of buildings where they have offices because there's a Senate building, there's a congressional building, and I went and I went to, I think it was the 3rd or 4th floor, and I dropped off my amended complaint and some other legal work product that I had been working on to my congressman here in Florida's office, and I haven't heard from him either. So not only have I not heard from OIG Horowitz, or anything else, or the COVID-19 pandemic commission, the subcommittee on the pandemic, I haven't heard back from anyone. Now, I don't know what to say about that.
Me either. It's so you have what you've done. You have your own receipt, so to speak, in that regard. I imagine there's quite a few other individuals that have taken action, followed in your footsteps, so to speak, regarding all that too. So the fact of the matter that it's being swept under the rug means we need a tally. We need to understand, because if we, the people, actually understood as to how many filings were being done, how much is being swept under the rug, like an official tally, then we literally, that's where, in my eyes, when things are being filed and it's kind of like, consider yourself served, and this is criminal things I'm exposing, and you have some demands in there and none of it, and it's being swept under the rug. Well, in my eyes, at that point, the next step, I mean, is this the next step that we take that information, we go to the law, we go to the sheriff essentially and file criminal like with them? It's like, look, I expose crimes. I expose crimes against humanity. I'm seeking direction. Like, this is criminal. Like, I demand the arrest of a state official immediately, because they're not responding. They're not hearing our grievances. They're not addressing anything. And when we ramp up the pressure enough through one of these means, we either need to get more organized, reaching out those state officials so they ramp up the like, now they feel it. They're like, you know what? They're no longer in servant roles. Like, I'm sorry. Like, everyone's coming out like multi-millionaires. It doesn't even freaking make sense. Well, it does when you actually look into it. So we need proper checks and balances there too, from here on out, to ensure that they can't be purchased, right? Like, that's not good. It's a servant role. This is what you get for this role. And they got to hear the people. At the point they're not listening to the people and addressing our grievances and responding even, look, we looked into it, we find it to be false, or whatever their finding is, then okay, now we get a proper appeal or response to that. But nothing's operating as it's designed. So we must start demanding proper action. And if it's arrests, it's arrests. Like, What other solutions do you see or calls to action? Because that's the only thing that's really making sense in my mind, because with that realization yesterday that, wow, we're not showing up enough. Well, we showed enough up enough for Bud Light to respond, but our own government, like, it's different because they're taking our money anyways. So they're appeasing their slave masters more than we the people. So why are we surprised? This is oppressive. This is tyranny, and we would be derelict in our duties to not abolish it, hands down. So how do we get organized effectively in doing that at this stage? Is it through law and legal? I have a feeling a lot of the morally upright lawmen and women even got purged, so to speak, during the pandemic, just like the military, due to the COVID shots. The most morally upright individuals, it seemed like some made it through, because at the end of the day, it was all threats with really no backing, right? It was just a wave. It got heavy. It got heavier threats. And then, all of a sudden, one day, it doesn't matter. You don't have to get the shot. Just kidding. You can go about your business in your position. Unbelievable. Like, what are we doing, man? There's great opportunity. Help us get organized. Start submitting what you see is a clear path to results and solutions. And if you don't see them, well, help us get the message out, because collectively others will. And as we gain momentum, we gain funds to actually kick off legit organized web pages and momentum in that arena. Like that's crucial, right? Wild. Such a wild world we live in, brother. What other solutions do you see in this moment, Eric?
I mean, honestly, as citizens of the United States, veterans or whatever, citizenry or whatever this is, we are living within that construct of the organizations of the different branches of the government, the executive branch, the legislation branch, the judicial branch, and they all have processes and codified laws, and the laws and the acts that add up to millions and millions of codified codes that they only enforce when they feel the necessity to actually enforce those codes. Other than that, they're going about their business. And you have to remember, it's just always going to be a lengthy process for these people who have billions of dollars to, like you said, to rule over us, tyrannical rule. They get a couple of congressmen, they get a couple of senators, they get, they get the president of the United States, they might get the VP, they might get this one, and they all talk that same PC game. They all go on TV. They all say their different lines. They all read off of the teleprompter. This is what you have to do to maintain an established life that's worth millions of dollars and popularity. And everywhere you go, people are going to, sit there and, want to shake your hand or state that you're a great person, and you're not going to have to ever worry about anything again. And this is kind of like what they buy into, the system itself. Now, guys like me and you, for the most part, and I know in my experience, I've never been granted anything. I mean, just for an example, just to get my service connection, disabled veterans paperwork through, took 65,000 pages of records and 2 hearings in an appeal court with a Veterans Affairs magistrate judge, and that was over 4 years. And
that's
from that,
insane. And to think of the border jumpers, criminals coming in, invading this country illegally, no friction to get EBT cards, debit cards, free housing, no submission, 65,000 page documents. This is freaking horrendous, folks. My gosh. Like right here. What more do you need to see? I'll change the audio settings so you can hear this, but let's go ahead.
Is that humans are now hackable animals.
Boom. World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab's puppet, Yuval Harari, saying humans are now hackable animals. Is that, in fact, why you're not getting engaged? Is that why you haven't done your research and properly acknowledged the warfare that is being waged upon us? I mean, my gosh, we need to secure our elections. Full stop. It's not even about Trump or Kamala at this point. What does it freaking matter? We're fully occupied and conquered if we continue to allow this tyranny, these corporations, these businesses. It's the synagogue of Satan, folks. We want proof? This clip, I have yet to play it. I'm going to be doing a whole other episode regarding more of this information. This is utterly from the synagogue of Satan. So for all you Christians, all you believers, just listen to this. It is unbelievable.
A few weeks ago, I attended the Trump rally here in my town. Before I dive into what I'm about to share, here's a peek at that. Wow. Well, today I found out that Kamala Harris was coming to my town, so I decided to go. I wanted to see the differences.
Good.
Notably, I had to show my ID to get in to see her. But anyway, I was making a video talking actually about how sad I was that the loudest cheering at the rather small event came in support of abortion. Disgusting. When I panned over to the crowd and to her speaking, and I caught something I wasn't expecting. Check it out. Not a lot of energy here, but everyone just cheered and screamed for killing babies. So that was disappointing. Anyway, here she is. Did you hear that? Some guy in the crowd shouted, "Jesus is Lord." And Kamala said, "I think you're at the wrong rally." And then she said, "Try the smaller one down the street." Everyone laughed and laughed and cheered, but I was at that rally. There were almost 7,000 people at it. Today they said there were 2,500. Nobody waiting. Open spaces. I wanted everyone who's a believer to hear that for themselves.
Again, we're not going to be gaslighted on this. We remember Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade, and they did as he intended.
Good.
Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally.
There is nothing funny about that. That is so appalling. However, as appalling as it is, doesn't that just show truthfully what we're up against here? It's not Kamala. It's not Trump. This is spiritual warfare, folks. And if we don't start getting engaged, they're literally worshiping the devil 100%, to the point this politician is speaking, trying to conjure up more support, and a gentleman, yells out, "Jesus is Lord," and she states, "I think you're at the wrong rally," and puts in a joke. There's a smaller one down the street, which is also a lie, because it's not like you saw the proof. Like, she's got a small gymnasium and he's got a full stadium. Totally war on information, and that's manipulation. And it's no good. And too many people are falling prey to that. And the cackling from this individual after that statement, the blind allegiance to these individuals, that it's almost, I could think of Jesus on the cross. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. All these individuals, because evil's been so effective with all these war tactics, who's to say that, just like Harari stated, they have the technology to control the masses, that these individuals are entirely hacked and controlled and no longer thinking for themselves. And we're under the illusion of choice. when we're having selections, not even elections. We need to ensure election integrity. How do we actually obtain that? It's through setting down our freaking jobs and showing up, right? And that's where I'm so grateful for you, Eric. You see these things and you're addressing, multiple layers and aspects to all this warfare yourself, and you're bringing that evidence forward, and you're more so even exposing not just the atrocities that took place, but you're also exposing how they're not listening to us, how they're not addressing how corrupted it actually is. So with that type of proper acknowledgement, we should be able to up the sense of urgency and come up with viable, legitimate solutions. And it's so evil. It's so evil. Too many Christians, it seems, are even so, like, if you're not informed on these levels, then how are your prayers even to our loving Creator and the inspiration going to come to engage in the proper levels of urgency of the threats without being educated? And they talk about about ignorance in the scripture. It's not good. We're to seek knowledge. We're to understand. And if you actually want to fulfill being a protector, as most men figure want to claim or even praise that role that they've inherited, yet falling short, frankly. Like, I don't mean to be insulting, but great. Okay, you're protecting them in your bubble, but at the point you're not protecting them in warfare, when your country's being threatened and your freedoms and the poisoning is continuing, then yeah, we're all kind of falling short in a sense. But there's great opportunity with the acknowledging and the right information to ramp up and see solutions together. I mean, look at the sheer idiocracy. She even had to provide an ID. I thought it was racist, right, to have like these ID checks, and we can't even have that securing her election. Unbelievable. They don't care about their hypocrisy when it's a hierarchy, when it's a two-tiered infrastructure system where there's rules for thee and not for me. We're not up against political parties per se. It does seem like it would be nice, because you think back to Trump's reign, things got the pressure got lifted, right, compared to right now, and we need a breath of fresh air, but not to just sip martinis on the beach. We need a breath of fresh air to take the time to address the real corruption, to ensure he addresses our grievances. There's concerns in foreign wars that are related to Trump that it's like, I'm greatly concerned about. We need to put that money and energy and time into this country, not some foreign country, period, full stop, till we address things so greatly here in clean house. Then we could look potentially begin the discussion of foreign aid. Unbelievable. And the biggest, like, this is just, I can't imagine how people can have fallen to the demonic to the point they would even take a stance of my body, my choice, murder. That's the why you're going to go with this other politician. You are manipulated into believing it's a right to commit murder. Unbelievable. I just watched a clip the other day of a pediatric, I can't remember the labeling, but some type of surgeon where in these young babies, he literally administers, what is it called? He'll minister pain, like relief for certain things, right? For this little life form being created. But in these procedures, there's none of that. And when you really look into it, like, it's crazy that people once again are running on these talking points without actually looking into the life being created and ruling out our responsibility. No, it's cause and effect. We cannot rule out responsibility in this life. We could think of 100 other situations where, no, you choose to drive, you're going to experience whatever comes. You can't rule out responsibility when you crash into something, right? So you partake in the very specific act that creates life. Well, you're responsible. That's the only way life happens. Now, I do believe in my body, my choices. I've stated, right, for individuals to have the choice as to whether to participate in that act. And I know everyone, especially pro-abortion, wants to dive in down that very, very small percentage of individuals that didn't have the choice, that were raped. And it's horrific. But if we put a quarter of the energy as we're putting into all this bread, all this freaking circus and fluff, these mothers would want for nothing, and we could champion life. I mean, we got 1 million abortions happening, murders happening in this country every year, and there's 2 million families on the adoption roster. So we got solutions. Anyway, I'm so far off track, Eric. I apologize, but it's all intertwined. We just really need to acknowledge the evil we're up against, and we're called biblically. You know, I have yet to look into it, but I came across a scripture the other day, and I'm very excited to dive into it. I believe it was Proverbs 24:11, but it states something along the lines of was that it? Yeah, responsibility to help those who cannot help themselves. So that goes from innocent life, but that also, and that's what God's calling us to do that. But that also goes to, individuals like you, Eric, right? To an extent, when you have these issues, we need experts to step forward, right, with their knowledge to get you fully engaged in the game to where you're not absorbed into just day after day, like fighting for life, right? And so many of the other veterans. How can we help you? Do you have a GoFundMe? Do you have a social media? Like, are you posting what you're doing where we could conjure up more support to hopefully, I don't know, put the pressure on where you're doing filings to where they have to start listening? What are your thoughts?
Well, I really don't do the social media, and I don't have any type of webpage. I would like to have some sort of web presence where persons that were, somehow injured by COVID-19 vaccinations could come and, put a declaration about their experience or what had happened, and people could actually view it, or some sort of, little biography snippets or something to that effect.
You're bringing up a good point. I'm pretty sure there's probably COVID groups built out on singular every platform there is. I'm sure people that are dealing with issues, and I imagine there's full-blown web pages. That would be important thing, groups for even me to engage with. So golly, if any of the listeners know of any recommendations for Eric or for me here on Unmuzzled, shoot it in the comments or shoot me an email at unmuzzledchat@gmail.com. Let's help each other get organized in that sense. But if clearly the hub for that isn't created, then yeah, it would be terrific to let's throw Eric few $1,000s and get this built out, you know?
I know of a website that I was referred to because there's a woman in a similar situation to mine. And I'm saying vaguely similar because she was injured as a participant within the AstraZeneca study when it first came out, and her name is Dressen. I think it's Brianna Dressen, and she's a young lady from Utah with a family. She participated in the study, and she has a really, really, really well-rounded and represented case, federal lawsuit against AstraZeneca as well. She was on Fox News, and she told the story, and she actually has a lawyer. She actually obtained some sort of presence with a legal team. She actually has a team of lawyers. And I don't know if there's any type of resemblance, but she has the result of that. She has her own organization called React 19, where it has basically chat rooms built out for COVID-19 victims, and it has research papers, research sections. It has people that you can actually get in contact with that'll plug you into legal resources and things of that nature. So I don't know if the cause, if the chicken came before the egg, or if she's just in that process. But like I said, I'm not the only one that
Right.
kind of been, I would say, scumbagged by AstraZeneca, and not by a far shot. I think that our case as veterans, and if this actually came out to be discovered by some magical miracle by a lawyer who actually cared about veterans and protecting us, if any type of discovery came along in the land of the free and the home of the brave, right, that we would have one of the biggest class action lawsuits against a biopharmaceutical company and the industry in all of mankind, because I believe that we could put the United Kingdom settlement of $125 million for the 55 victims, which they believe is much higher, or the class action that's in Australia right now with the 500 victims, the 17 dead by the AstraZeneca vaccine. I think we could really put that to shame. And you have to remember that they set up these apparatus, or the schema of, they have the CICP process attached to the COVID-19 vaccine within every single region in the world now, that they didn't have it prior to that. So why would you need a special process to litigate injuries for a vaccine, for a COVID-19 vaccine, if the COVID-19 vaccine was safe and effective? Why do you need a special process that people would actually have to file certain claims, and they could only be awarded a certain amount of money, and you could only use a lawyer in a certain situation, and you can only bring up certain injuries? So if that's the case, who engineered all this? Was it just an accident? I don't think it was an accident.
No. That becomes very telling in and of itself. Well, I like what you brought up about Brenda Dressen. If you've gotten in touch with her, or if those are links we should add into the episode, or actually would be.
Her name is Brianna Dressen. React 19 is her website. I have reached out to her, but I haven't, like I said, I haven't really received a significant response to anything. Now, I don't know if that's a result of, intercepting communications, and I don't know. They do a lot of, like you said, they have all the keys to all the doors. Now,
I've noticed I've verified with certain guests, bigger names, like than in myself, whatever, doesn't matter. But even Gmail, like, we've caught correspondence not going through. It's just like, wow, minimizing us.
You want to hear something that's really funny? Is that I actually emailed a representative. Now I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, and I'm an independent, so I'm an independent thinker. I'll vote for whoever I believe has America's best interests at heart. But I actually emailed Kamala Harris from my Yahoo.com account.
Really?
A representative. I emailed the VP White House .com email, and it just disappeared from my outbox. I sent the whole legal work product in and a nice note, and then basically I also paid.
Because she's not gonna, bro. She can't do anything now because all her promises are coming when she's president, not vice president. Duh.
Yeah, I mean, it's something like that. But I mean, I also paid for a subscription to IMD, which is kind of like you can try to get in contact with famous people through their representatives. And I also emailed a couple. Like that's how I found her representatives' information. I emailed them, and then all of a sudden that email just disappears from my sent box. So there's no type of trail. But like I said, there's somebody that holds the keys, that has, that has the system under this lock and key system where we believe we're using this technology to do good, and we're using this technology to spread the information, and we're sending emails and we're sending notices. But do you really think they're going to let any of that stuff get out? Like when you think about it, I've emailed correspondents at the Washington Post. I've emailed correspondents at the New York Times. I've emailed correspondents at the LA Times, and the same thing is recurring over and over and over again. That
it's time for arrests.
They're all sold out, bro. I mean, honestly.
It is time for arrests at this point. I don't know anyone even more guilty than the media itself, the traditional media, the dying mainstream media. Like they entirely complicit to it all. But you brought up law firms. That's pretty important. I imagine once again, like the Brenda or Brianna. I don't know if I said that wrong. Everything she's created, there's other individuals, I'm sure, other creations similar, but law firms. So it was pretty interesting on a different topic, due to the mutilation of children. There was a law firm that entirely canceled its more so traditional practice to hone in on this singular issue and really tear it up and get involved on behalf of saving children, because it is not more loving to mutilate these children. And so anyway, there's law groups that are morally, ethically really tackling things. And just because it's big pharma, just because, I mean, there aren't clear cut cases to be had. There's so many layers of legal and that's where I liked, where was it? I just played it the other day. Was it Kentucky? But it was another state where actually their officials now, they're not getting into the nitty gritty and the protections they have over the actual shot, but what they can go after fully, and it would just open up into bigger things, class action, that I believe they could get under the substance and what the effects it had futuristically, but they're going after the false advertising, right? They don't have immunity for all the lies and manipulation, everything they spewed, because it was totally, so there were so many breaches on law, just illegal. So it's great to see the needle moving in that regard, where it's making news. It's by some of the state representatives. So to even support what that's doing / mimic that and start gaining momentum across all the states, it's crucial, right? So yeah, to find those law firms, if anyone knows any, reach out, drop that in the comment section as well. Clearly there's a lot of organization. I mean, we're just such limited beings in this existence. We need collectively, like a village, on it, right? Okay, Something came into the village, is posing a threat. I don't care. Let's just think of what we can grasp. Just some beast. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone's got a role. Some can build up defenses. Some can start, setting traps. Some can start getting organized on hunt parties. We can. It's a collective effort, But if we continually, without organization, oh, you're just doing this and I'm doing this, and we're there's no real record tracking of it all, then they're effectively keep sweeping under the rug, and we're not really seeing, because it's not hitting their bottom line like it would a business directly like Bud Light. It's our own government. That's just, so we need to up the organization. The other simple way would be magnifying the podcast in and of itself. Get this into the millions, and at the point we bring this type of information forward and we want this, then we'll start actually getting more solutions being brought forward, and we would love that. That's what it's about. We'd gain, it's already established here. It just would make all the connections we need to make to team up and create these movements in these areas we so desperately need. Because a lot of it has been built out at this point. Just to keep up on in all our ways what we're doing, it's very difficult. So minimally bless this platform to bless you in organizing futuristically. And that's simply through the like button, because the more that gets smashed, the more I guess this ends up on the forefront, I suppose, on a lot of these platforms. Now, mind you, we're going against every algorithm. They're creating AI algorithms, all sorts of things to minimize, even on free speech platforms, this getting out. So it really needs to be organic growth. And why is it they're addressing and attacking like our organization, our health, and our rights so egregiously? Like, those are the most censored things. I'm trying to think.
I did want to touch on remember us talking about AstraZeneca and its subsidiaries, and
yes,
where they actually have operations.
You wanted to show the scope and scale of it.
Yeah, they actually have, and I'll just scroll through this. This is a document that I obtained from the legal platform called Westlaw. And that's a platform where you look up cases, you do legal research, and you pay them a monthly subscription. Now, this is a 50-page document, so 50 out of 50 pages. So you see here the behemoth of AstraZeneca. Now, these are all the subsidiaries of AstraZeneca, their names, their DUN numbers, their addresses where they actually operate out of. Now, if I can scroll to the end, you'll see that there's 150 different subsidiaries of AstraZeneca. Now, if I do a find, I actually typed in China, and you see here, okay, we have one here, number 142, AstraZeneca Trade Company, Ltd. Now you hear address. The address is Songsheng South Road, Baxia District, Nanjing, China. Now, right? Now, if you do it again, I go to the next one. That's number 149 is Nanyang AstraZeneca Business Consulting Service. Wow. And this is in Nanyang, China. They have two different companies operating within China, and they said they actually had 20 years of development of this actual vaccine. Wow. Now, if you really wanted to get down into investigating this pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, and its origins, which people have been disputing, you would see that these people have been cooking this up for decades. It's not just something that's actually just come to pass, and it wasn't an accident.
Right.
And I actually emailed this list to a couple of congressmen, and I haven't received any type of response, no type of meaningful response, nothing at all. So I would say that they're in 100% collusion with, like you said, the pandemic. They get on the stage and they talk a good game, and they want to seem like they want to get to the bottom of things, but at the end of the day, they've never made one arrest. They've never prosecuted anyone successfully. They've never come after anybody's assets. They've never taken any type of money back from the biopharmaceutical companies other than fines. And this product, AstraZeneca, has actually been withdrawn by AstraZeneca from the global market as of May 6th, 2024. Every single news stream, CNN, Fox, CNBC, ABC, any type of media outlet advertised this, to include New York Times, Boston Globe, any type of magazine or periodical advertised it as AstraZeneca is withdrawing the COVID-19 vaccine, its version of the COVID-19 vaccine, due to low demand. No, it's not because of low demand. It's because it's the worst product known to man that actually creates known issues like thromboses, neurocarditis, and other things on a regular basis. And they have no type of answer for it, only to, listen to this, purchase 300 million doses of AstraZeneca for $1.2 billion and send them overseas to countries that aren't going to use it anyway. So what are we really talking about here? Are we talking about, just laundering this money? Is that what it is? So you guys can have your helicopters and your boats and your houses and your mistresses and your Mercedes Benzes and your chauffeurs, or what is it that we're talking about? How come anybody that's injured by this shot, and I'm talking about brave veterans of the United States military, why aren't we given some type of special privilege or special monetary compensation or redress, or even an apology?
Dude, it's been weaponized against we the people. Why did JFK get murdered? Why did the water engine, the creator of that, get murdered and all his stuff disappear? Why is there multiple individuals that claim the cure to cancer and they get murdered and all their information goes missing? Right? Why did Trump, multiple assassination attempts already? So in my eyes, what happened during Trump's first presidency was bringing energy independence back. They're big things, but on the real big scheme, pretty small, but we started to feel the difference. They've this tyrannical, two-tiered, like these elitists, essentially Satanists, can't allow enough freedom, enough breath. They've wanted just enough bread and circus, just enough luxury and mindless entertainment to keep us happy, right? They even World Economic Forum, futuristically, and we now are on the path of eating bugs and being happy unless we change directions. They're being very successful with their regime. So it's just, that's why I see past the red versus blue. We got to secure the elections and election integrity. And anyone that would say and give us any flack for trying to bring election integrity, whether it's voter ID or anything, they are to be fully investigated, like fully indicted. All right, we're diving into this. Like, any resistance we shouldn't accept anything less. Maybe even immediate imprisonment, depending on certain ones, like certain platforms that are actually committing crimes, right? Like Facebook and all the major platforms were caught doing, including with the government, to suppress truth and boost propaganda. Truth being, actually Hunter Biden's laptop, right? And it implicates freaking Joe Biden, but they Russia misinformation, disinformation, right? Like, but then they boosted Trump, Russia, and Russiagate, and it's incredible crimes. So, I got too caught up there that I was even losing the bigger point. But you think about it, we were gaining momentum in the right areas where we started feeling, wow, things are getting good. Like just with little, energy independence, actual most secure border, just these little wins. And we started noticing like, oh my gosh, things could really, and we start gaining that type of momentum. We become a great threat to these tyrannical rulers. So what did they do? They conjured up, and there was so much planning. Why did they even instigate and kick off a test run, if you will, of the pandemic and put great funds into that, right? So to me, with a PCR test, it seems more clear to me that as they installed 5Gs, which have been known to create all these COVID symptoms, they just started ramping up their war machines known as the mainstream media and all this fear porn, and people were actually feeling the certain symptoms that they never really felt before because this is frequency warfare. Like, why else would they be ramping up the sprays in the skies? Why else would they be centralizing food and putting shots into food and animals and, like putting all these heavy metals in that as well? Because it's no secret. You can see the reaction of these heavy metals and graphene oxide, even in the batches of the shot, whether it was in blood or just out of the vial, and it's reactive to the frequencies. You can't deny what your eyes are seeing. Okay. And that's having an impact now in your body, causing these crazy symptoms. So it's all conjured up. So we get lost back in and sickened to where we are no longer seeing, like, it just kind of makes sense that they had to roll this off, even though they weren't fully prepared with it. They didn't have all the bioweapon jabs they needed. They had to roll out a bunch of saline solutions. So clearly they even tried getting strategic on distributing the more lethal batches to certain individuals more so than the saline. Like, it's all the data's there, man. And when you really connect these dots, it does paint this very, very clear picture. And that's where I hope and pray we can see the bigger picture and gain that sense of urgency of like, wow, we actually, this is a great threat, but we outnumber them like hundreds of thousands to one. What is there to fear? Are you kidding me? We just aren't willing to set down our bubble. Like, that's what matters. Unbelievable. Freaking people, children are dying, and we want to stay in our bubble. Fantastic. Go USA. Unbelievable. And I speak in these ways, like, hopefully not to just crack a whip, to encourage. Yes, it would be nice. It would be nice if World War III effectively wasn't kicked off many, many years ago. It would be nice to live in a world that we could be safe in our bubbles, because it's not even necessarily a bubble anymore, because we actually have a society that is functioning as it was designed, right? And it's we the people. That'd be fantastic. However, we cannot kid ourselves. We cannot fool ourselves, because that is not the world we're living in. And you can see it. That's why they want to divide us on race. That's why they want to divide us on red versus blue. That's why they want to divide us and ramp us up to where we can't even have conversations with one another, because it's just like the poisons within us and all this weaponization of word and polarization of topics. Like, we're getting wrapped up into the bread and the circus, and they're just cranking up that stove temperature. It just does boggle my mind, because even myself, it's taken a long path to more so stand on the outs and gain. I've gotten glimpses of like the big picture, but I've still participated in the bread and the circus all along the way. And I feel like I'm more so now starting to really acknowledge how we could potentially go about, and you want to really disrupt this new world order. You really want to disrupt the institutions that are weaponizing everything against us. Then we take out the Federal Reserve. We take out the West Central banking system. That fake currency that is indebting the government, indebting us as a nation and a people, and not even by choice. Like, we got to abolish all of that to even tear down that infrastructure that is creating this great divide. Like, they don't just absorb all this fake currency. They are the creators of it. We can't even imagine, like, money isn't an object to these families and individuals anymore. It is control, it is power, and that is why when we the people were gaining a breath of fresh air, they kicked off a pandemic, they fired up their frequency warfare weapons, they got us under an illusion as though it's some bacteria, some pangolin and bat and soup and whatever turd. Like, what? Get the freak out of here. To where people are still taking these tests where it's proven there's like there's actual things harming you with the tests itself. Unbelievable. Everything.
I mean, just remember, James. Look, do you remember those visions and that the media used to play where people were lining up to get that swab up their nose? Oh my God, I got COVID. Oh my God, I have COVID. You have to self-isolate. Then they had all these rules, and then they had this. And then a couple of industry experts was sitting there saying, well, just let it run its course, because it's going to run its course no matter what we do. And you have to remember, like, every single government in the world follows the same playbook, whether it be a government in Mongolia or wherever, anywhere, they follow the same playbook, because this is how everything was founded to begin with. So they have all these processes and all these laws that insulate them and protect them. And remember, when you go against the system, it's more about how they can actually sit there and make a dollar or make some money for themselves by.
It's so backwards.
It's backwards.
The government had one job, essentially, and it was just to more so ensure. I mean, there was some organization, but threats, foreign and domestic, and they have overgrown, by design, overgrown their britches. You know what I'm saying? Like, we gotta clean things up. Gave all this, not even immunity, but sheer privacy to all these 3-letter agencies. Oh, under the guise, oh, yeah, threats. But you can now see, like, FBI agents are showing up at grandma's door because Jan 6. FBI agents are showing up on TikTokers' doors because they're exposing some of the corruption. Unbelievable. It's been weaponized against we the people. We're to take back that privacy. We're to clean house. Maybe abolish even those institutions within themselves if we cannot reconstruct them. There should be no secrecy to we the people. Why has the government got full access to our private? What an infringement. All of this. We're to flip the script. And we got a great opportunity, because the majority of people do seem to care. They do seem to be functional beings. They're still working. They're going to the grocery store. They're capable. We're all capable, right? We can still read. We can still absorb. We can still communicate to a huge degree. So, I mean, it seems like things are getting ramped up to where we're losing that more and more, right? People, the most simplistic. That's why I've had people freak out on me now, patriots, at a gun range, even when I just wanted to, like, he thought I was all political, and I was like, oh, no, brother, like, way bigger than that. In fact, we were addressing a lot of the war tactics, like, that are actually attacking your loved ones as we speak. And even then, no, you're freaking, like, couldn't even connect. So we're losing that. So there isn't, it's everyone's choice. That's what it boils down to. I hope more people choose to get more engaged so we actually could shift the tide. Otherwise, like, just buckle up, because without that, there's more tyranny. There's going to be more suffering. And ultimately, it's in God's hands. If we cannot shift it, then just get ready to endure a lot more suck, because that's what's coming. But if we seize a moment, sure, evil will take some of us out along the way. Great. Is there anything more honorable to engage in? No. But don't lie to yourself, and get educated, and then we can create more solutions together. I mean, I think this is quite a beautiful message to kind of wrap up in. What closing thoughts do you have here, Eric?
I mean, just from one man to another. I mean, it's like you said, reach down, grab hold, and make sure you know what you have, and stick to your guns, and stick to what you believe in as a person.
Yes.
And like I said, I mean, at any point I could have just, been like, hey, listen, I'm going too deep down a rabbit hole, and I can't handle this. And, this is racking my brain, and this case is going to cost thousands of dollars. But, just sitting there and just objectively looking at it, am I going to allow these people to get away with what they've perpetrated?
Right.
No. There's
heck
no way.
Heck no.
No way.
Eric, I got to tell you, my man, even since last I seen you, you're glowing more. So I know the path we're on becomes extremely challenging and hard, especially when you try to gain support. And it's like, wow, you're kind of extending your hand. Help me help you. I'm taking the action. I'm on the front lines. And I know with your support, we could be more effective. And they don't want to extend their hand. So that in and of itself can be disheartening, to where it's like, well, what am I even doing it for if people don't even want to save themselves? Like, what am I, so there's a trick, right? And I've fallen prey to that darkness, and instead of basking in the light, when I felt disheartened to that nature. And the more we kind of bask in God's light, fulfill his purpose, come what may, do what we can, people will engage as they feel inclined to engage, or as they educate. That's the thing, man. I think it's a false sense of security they've been lulled into, at the point they're like, well, God will lead me on it. It's like, well, it's like God isn't going to save us all if we just ate rat poison today and we prayed that it wouldn't kill us. Like, there's a level of responsibility he's given us in the free agency of this life. So if enemies knocking on our door and legitimately threatening us, like, we could sit here and pray and try to be walking in his, but it just would be nice to, heck, what am I even saying? It's in God's hands. You get where you get what I'm trying to say, and it's your choice. And I just hope more people answer the call to the reality of our situation. And I hope to see better outcomes futuristically, and it just needs more engagement in order to have that. So it does boil down to choice. We can't sit here, twist arms as much as we want to do. That, in fact, is what evil is here to do. You can really easily discern the God of this world versus our loving creator God. And he's controlling things. He wants to control things. And that's a censorship regime. That's the propaganda machine, here to deceive kill, destroy. I mean, you see all these destructive things and wokeness. It is so biblical. It is so freaking clear. I get more and more convicted in that each and every day. And that's a great blessing because it's not about this existence. I don't want to, I mean, it sucks when you're not feeling well, right? And I just want health and happiness for all. That's it. That's what we want to achieve, the best version of you and a bright future. Let's secure it all together. How hard is that?
You got to jump through a couple of hoops. I'll tell you that. A couple of loopholes.
Yes. Well, I tell you, I'm losing my mind at this point. I could actually tell my body needs, I'm fatigued. I need some food. So I apologize. But Eric, you are on a great path. You're leading by example. I appreciate you. Futuristically, man, build more things out. If you got GoFundMes and things, like you're actually taking action, like let's try to get organized. Let's stay in communication and try to reach out to some of these groups, maybe law firms, maybe these COVID groups, and we'll unite with them and add to what they're already creating. And if we can't find ones that are doing it and they're more so grifting, right, then, well, we'll take that challenge upon ourselves and kick off a real organic one, seeking the right outcomes for everyone. So these are beautiful conversations to have. I'm excited to do better each and every day. I'm mortal. I ebb and flow. I get that. Is there any other thing you'd like to touch on, Eric?
No, just for the guys in the military back pay case, John DeLarme, the Forgotten Soldiers platform, big shout out for them sticking to their guns and letting them and holding them accountable for actions that they've taken against fellow veterans and things of that nature that only weakened our country. And thank you for sticking to your guns and actually standing up. So it's been a pleasure to know those gentlemen. Yes. And I'm gonna share a big chair once they win their case and everything. They get everything they were hoping for.
Thank you for bringing that up. We love the Forgotten Soldiers, everything Scott and John are doing over there, the amazing individuals that they have on to secure the future for everyone not in this country. Let's go. Let's support them. Go over to the Forgotten Soldiers. Click the follow button just right here, fellas, folks, women, everyone. Help them help us. Let's create the momentum together. Let's be excited to take action this day. And what other better action is, in addition to clicking the Forgotten Soldiers, is liking and commenting on this very episode, sharing this episode, and then checking out our affiliations. You could look into Patriot Mobile, get savings there. Just follow the prompts below. We got the American Reserve survival food, water filtration, all sorts of preparations. Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. 10% off with promo UNMUZZLED. Check out EMP Shield. We need to get that on our vehicles at minimum, if not our homes and solar investments. And you're getting $50 off every product you order through the link below. Bond Chargers still getting 15% off through all their products, and that is going to help up your resilience. Masterpiece, that tincture as well that we touched on, is a miracle tincture. Helps eradicate those forever chemicals and heavy metals. Okay. Other than that, check out Black Eagle Apparel. Get your UNMUZZLED chat t-shirt. Support us. This is full time. This is no joke. Not in it for money, but we need more coming in to have a bigger impact. And I am excited. It seems as though conversations are being had out there where we might start getting great investors coming in. We'll see. But you could be a part of that growth. You could be a part. I mean, I'm open to partnerships. The one thing I will not allow is to become muzzled. It's all about being unmuzzled. So if you're trying to come in under the guise, oh, here you go, and Muzzle, yeah, good luck. We'll make sure there's a fine print. I could ditch you. If that's the case. We won't take your dirty money. It's all about being unmuzzled, like First Amendment. And if you're on board with that, and any point, I'm human, and you could address. If you don't like the way we're going, we can have a normal discussion, a human discussion. And if it's time to part ways, we'll part ways. But it's all about improving life together, seizing the opportunities, the moments. Like we touched on, it is sad this is the reality of our lives, but ignorance doesn't leave you anywhere. So let's be excited. We were put in this time for a reason, and let's fulfill our purpose together. We love you. May our loving Creator, God, bless you and bless this country as we move forward. Thanks again, Eric. Bless you. Folks, until next time, take care.